introduced in the bottom right spawning position, playing in the blue colors today, playing for Navi. It is Minato. And he is going up against our Terran player in the top left spawn position, the Panzer Terran, the Meching Terran, playing in red today here at the ESET UK Masters. It is Goody.
So, Meching Terran indeed, and Mech is relatively good against Zerg. Although having said that, I think that the kind of infantry style is really nice as well, so that's something that potentially we may see Goody go for. I know he is a big fan of that, so let's just wait and see what these two are going to go for. But currently we've just got Minato going very nicely for that 15 hatch, just as he should. Goody getting down a barracks first, probably going to go straight into a command center afterwards though.
Yeah, that's what I'm fully expecting to see here. I was just looking up what ESC was standing for. I remember like, oh yeah, ESC, that stood for something, but I can't actually find that it's standing for something. I mean, it's just called ESC Gaming, but what the ESC stands for is Electronics Sports Center. So, today you learned. I'm sure a lot of you did not know that.
I didn't know that.
Electronic Sports Center, a facility in... I'm not even going to try to pronounce that German city, but it is a city in Germany and designed for boot camps for esports professionals. That's cool. Anyway, today you learned that ESC is actually some kind of a professional gaming training facility in Germany.
I just have this beautiful image of just like computers everywhere, all glistening, clean and sparkly. Yeah,
that's cool. So that's the sponsor of Goody, the sponsor of his team that he is playing for, of course, as he's grabbing his double gases really early on after dropping a command center after barracks. So he's going to be attacking quite rapidly. No Reapers for him in this game. It is going to be a bit of the old-fashioned style, I want to call this, because the Reaper is just so common these days.
Yeah, Reapers are good, but on Whirlwind, I don't really like them because there's not really many cliff areas to exploit. So I think Goody's making a good choice there by not going for them. Instead, probably just going to chuck down a factory relatively shortly, but going for a very fast third command center. This could be really nice. He's also only got one SCV in each gas, so very, very fun. This is going to be an interesting build out of Goody. And Minato needs to identify what's happening now, because the option is always you need to take that quick third if you're up against a very quick third from a Terran player, because even though it won't flow down, he's going to have higher SCV production, an additional mule, and those things are one of the things that you've got to prepare for as a Zerg.
That are the things you have to get ready for. 9 drones just now popping out for Minato. He's grabbed himself 2 gases somewhat early on, and so has Goody. So we're going to see pretty gas-heavy plays come out of both plays here. A third command center is on the way for Goody. So behind his 2 gases, he's going to take up to the factory, but immediately get that third command center on the road as well. So we just have to see when and if Minato goes ahead and grabs that third base. First, he's going to invest into double Evo chamber, which is fine, but he really needs to start thinking about his own third base, because Goody is going to have an amazing economy off of 3 orbital commands in just a second.
He will do, and as we can see, all that really Minato's going for the time being is those evolution chambers as part of that nice little natural wall off, and this is all just gearing towards a defensive play, expecting a lot of pressure to come in, but ultimately there isn't. There's this third command center which is just really helping Goody get a great economy. So the defense is something that you've really got to identify, and if Minato doesn't take a third hatchery shortly or gear up for a very large push, he's going to get substantially behind.
He is, so he needs to do something to counteract just that. Goody going to be meching, no surprise there. The Panzer Terran from Germany dropping to additional factories, and he's going to be rolling those Panzers out. And, well, actually, I'm not sure if he's going to roll the Panzers out. I mean, probably going to be a mech composition involving a few siege tanks, but siege tanks no longer really the core of the mech army. Of course, the addition of the Hellbats has changed things up a little bit, so we'll see what Goody's exact unit composition is going to be here, as he has those 2 Hellions scouting around for a third base, which still is not in existence.
Yeah, and that's ultimately just due to the fact that a lot of speedlings coming out at the moment. There's also the Roach Warren completing, so potentially Minato could go for a very, very large 2-base push. But the problem is, seeing this many lings out, Goody should be aware that that's slightly more than expected. He knows the third base isn't there. He can now start getting in a very nice defensive position. He can make sure that he can hold it, and then he shouldn't have too many issues.
Yeah, he shouldn't. He should be fine in that regard. Minato now dropping the Spire down as his double upgrades are about to finish up, so his lair is done, of course. Third base has been up and running for a long time for Goody, as in up and running in his main base, that is, producing SCVs and dropping mules.
That scan was beautiful down there in the main base of Minato. Goody saw the Spire, knows precisely what's coming down, but yeah, as you said, that third base has been up for a long period of time, making those SCVs, dropping them mules, and now a Banshee coming out from Goody as well. This is a really interesting stuff. We were only saying last game that we haven't seen many Banshees in Heart of the Swarm from Terrans.
No, like, not versus Protoss, and not versus Zerg players either. Banshee's really falling out of favor a little bit, so that's why this Banshee is also interesting to me. Is he going to queue up another one? That doesn't seem like it.
Well, the really interesting thing, let's face it, is he continued making that Banshee after scouting the Spire.
Yes. That is weird.
That's like mind games to max, because Mutalisks hard counter Banshees. Super hard. Like, like a rock and a hard place sort of Banshee counter, but yeah, ultimately... Like... oh, look at this, we've got... oh, Hellions coming straight into the third base! Lots of drones are on fire. That's not too fun.
No, and is he going to be able to get out of here, though? That's difficult. He got himself in a pretty difficult position. He might be able to get a few more works here. Actually, he's going to get out of there with 3 Hellions. More going to die. Oh, they run him into a corner. And only 1 Hellion survives there. So that was... we shouldn't look just at the worker kill tab, because we are looking at the worker kill tab right now, and it says 10 workers killed by Goody. But he lost 6, maybe 7 Hellions in the process. So that's a lot of Hellions for 10 drones.
But have you seen how far ahead he is in terms of the worker count? Even after that massive wave of drones from Minato, Goody is only 2 workers behind. He's floating his third orbit command down, and with the tanks there, with the Thors there, Minato just doesn't have enough to push through it. The Banshee is also hovering around, just really being a very expensive early detection system, and the reason this isn't being used is just because there's the option of those muters, but no Mutalisks have been made yet. The first 5 are just in production. So while we've got this quick pause, recap us on what we've seen so far this game.
Well, it looks like the pause is going to be ending, but we can recap anyway, because there's a bit of a lump in the action right now as Minato is getting ready to get his Mutas out on the field, and he goes for a ridiculously early hive here, 12 minutes into the game. Whoa, that is super, super early. What is he going to do with that?
That's crazy early, but the other thing is he's going for missile attack as well. So
yeah, that's what was confusing me.
All it could be for is Vipers. Let's face it, he could get some Vipers, try and get some good blinding clouds, seeing that Goody's going mech, wanting to disable the tank's range and therefore be able to engage very cost effectively. So I like that thought process, and you do need those Vipers in the later stages of the game, but up against just a couple of tanks.
Roach Hydra Viper?
Yeah, Roach Hydra Viper is a good composition, but currently we've just got these Roaches actually pushing in towards the third base, doing a lot of damage here to Goody's mules, getting taken out insanely fast. These Roaches are going to have to turn tail and run away though, because the tank's coming in with the added defense, so is the Thor. And, well, the Hydrogen finishing up now for Minato. I'm expecting Vipers now, but it's a really early point to get them. 24 drones as well, my goodness. He's droning.
Yeah, wow. He's droning like a madman. He's going to go up to 92 drones, if my math serves me correct. So that is basically all the saturation that he could possibly want. He's going to saturate his entire 4th base in basically a single drone wave. And there are the 5 Vipers on the way. So it's going to be Roach Hydra Viper that he's going to be playing. And like you pointed out, Maddles, it's all going to be about those blinding clouds and making sure that he can use the mobility of his own army and use the low mobility of the Terran army against it. And
if you can get those blinding clouds off on the siege tanks, you can engage so well with Roach Hydra. It's sickeningly effective.
Yes,
but
it is.
The big question mark is if you get the blinding clouds down well. If you don't, guess how easily wrecked that army for the Zerg player is. It gets demolished, and that's the big problem. So the Vipers have to do a lot here. They need to start consuming, and just they say that they go down. The Hive getting scanned now. Seeing the Hydra list, seeing the Hive should give Goody a good indication it's going to be Vipers. That's fairly certain, and therefore, ultimately, he can start producing the Vikings, and that's exactly what he's doing now.
Yeah, the Vikings are coming out right now, 3 at a time. How many Vipers is Minato going to go for? That's something that always intrigues me, because the Viper play is relatively new. There's complete different approaches to how many Vipers you should get. Minato seems to think 5 Vipers is a good amount, whereas I've seen Zerg players get only 3, but I've also seen 10 Vipers come out, as we have a single Hellion trying to kill some drones at the 4th base. Doesn't really manage to do much. We see a few Marines being sacrificed for the greater good, so Goody can make more of his delicious mech. He needs more siege tanks, especially more Vikings, I feel. That's what he's going to use that extra supply for.
Well, he's got 3 Vikings coming out at a time for the moment. These Vipers just sitting quite comfortably, just out of scan range, so can't quite be seen yet by Goody. And this is what you need. If Minato can get a good engagement here, he should be fine, but it all is going to come down to those blinding clouds. He's trying to get a good angle. Nice little snipe off there. That's really exactly what you want. Those Vikings really being quite threatening to the Vipers. So straight away we see Minato starting those Corruptors as his greatest spire is about to complete. And this is now a really interesting tech switch, because of course the upgrades just aren't right for going into Broodlords.
No, they're not. They're really awkward, actually. 6 Corruptors coming out. I'm really curious to see how that battle is going to turn out. I really have absolutely no idea. Mixing Vipers with Corruptors and getting another Spire out. He has the greatest Spire finished up, but like you said, the upgrades are not the bestest right now for the Broodlings. They're not going to be dealing as much damage yet, but the additional Zerg melee upgrades are coming out, Maddles. So in a few minutes, those Broodlings are going to have fair upgrades themselves.
They will do. So, as we can see, we've just got Goody turtling up. He's getting more command centers and orbital commands, because that's what you do when you're meching and you get loads and loads of minerals. But these Hellbats are doing a nice little bit of work against these drones, actually, and this is good distraction play. He's forcing Minato back, making sure that he buys himself some more time. But how much time does Goody need? He's getting very close to maxing. He's got a nice little army composition already. The only thing that's going to be concerning to him is that the Vipers are there. He hasn't yet seen the Broodlords, but about to spot them. And that is a good little scout. Now he's just going to go into absolute Viking overdrive.
There's 1 Raven in this army composition, and that 1 Raven has Seeker Missile available, has Point Defense Drone, of course, available, and the auto turrets, I don't think we're going to see that used. That won't be able to make a difference. We have 1 Roach.
Ready before the Planetary Fortress is done, so not too bad. Good work there. Meanwhile, though, the Broodlords are starting to come close to the Vikings. They're absolutely shredding through those Broodlords. The Vipers getting some blinding clouds down on pretty much everything. The Roach Hydras coming from behind. The Vipers all getting sniped off, though. The Broodlords all down. The blinding cloud already starting to fade, and now this is just Goody plowing through this. The Vikings doing so much damage, taking out all of the Vipers and Broodlords. 112 Zerglings are the reinforcements Minato's aiming for, along with 9 Ultras. So this is a huge tech switch.
Yeah, he's only going to be able to do this once, though, so he has this additional army about to come out, maxing on 112 Zerglings and 9 Ultralists. The Zerglings are now popping out, but the Ultras still need another 10 seconds, and by then these siege tanks will probably be in siege mode. It's a bit of a decision that he has to make. Am I going in siege mode to deal with the Lings, or am I going to stay in tank mode to be able to deal with the Ultralisks a little bit better? Am I going to go for the splash or the single target DPS on the Ultras? Uh-oh.
Well, this is not what you want. Is a huge group of Zerglings catching all of your army out of position. This is potentially going to do an awful lot. The tanks are probably all going to go down, and this is the worst thing that could have happened for Goody at the moment. And yeah, only a handful of tanks are going to try and escape, but they probably won't even make it. And that could have actually been a game-ending mistake. There is now only 5 tanks on the field up against a maxed-out Minato. He is in an amazing spot right now.
Yeah, Goody overextending there, wanting to kill that base, overstaying his welcome just a little bit. Planetary Fortress. Actually, Minato doesn't feel confident pushing in here. It is very difficult. There's a lot of auto turrets there. Ravens have come out on the field. 4 siege tanks were in siege mode. There was a Raven up in the air. A Banshee up in the air, adding in some DPS. So he's going to take a different approach. He's going to go towards the 3rd.
Now, in he goes, and there's very little defense here, and as we can see, just the Lings, the Ultras are going to do so much damage, and Well, a lot of SCVs going down. The tank count slowly starting to creep higher. I like the fact that Goody is now starting to make some Banshees. That could run some problems for Minato. But he's just got so many units here that he can start plowing through.
Yeah, he can start. He can start doing that. He's got fully maxed out, of course. Got his upgrades still coming in. Terran airship weapons level 2 are coming in. Airship, that's like double the fun, double up. But that doesn't matter. Goody has reestablished his base on the left side of the map. Not quite a planetary fortress yet. And how is he ever gonna hope to defend this many bases with mech? I mean, his third base and his fifth base are so far apart. Look at that, Mandels. It's gonna be pretty difficult to defend both at the same time.
And the one thing with doing this is that you have a disposable base then, in effect, that if you lose one, oh well, you've got the other one, so it's fine. And ultimately, if Goody loses his base, which he now will, he's got the one up to the top right, but a lot of Zerglings are going up there, and this is a really nice multi-prong attack out of Minato, he's doing everything that he wants. He's just making sure that Goody can't move out at the risk of losing most of his base.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to point out a second ago. How are you ever going to keep your third and your fifth base secure? It is impossible. You can secure 3 bases on this map, but 4 or 5 as a meching Terran, that's pretty much impossible. And I think Goody's starting to realize that he needs to go and push, that Minato is not going to allow him to get 4 or 5 bases up.
Well, there's not much for Goody to really wait for. He's got the 3-2 upgrades, he's maxed out, and he's got a relatively nice army composition. There's no air, so he doesn't really need to worry about getting more Vikings out or anything like that. He's got a good tank and Thor count, as well as a huge number of Banshee, which will do incredibly nicely against the Ultralisks. So, waiting isn't really gaining him much. He's just losing those additional command centers he's thrown down, and giving Minato more time to really expand wherever he feels like it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's doing. He hasn't rebuilt the base on the left side that he lost to the tanks. Oh, look at that Baneling count. That's a lot of Banelings, and the mech is super clumped up. Oh, these Banelings are going to do fantastic. Oh, Lord, I've never seen a mech army evaporate that fast, but there's still about 20 Banshees up in the air. Actually, that's not true. It's only 9 of them. But that's still a lot.
9 Banshees will do an incredible amount of damage, but the Ultralisks are just charging forward. They're going to try and do a lot more quicker. Now, of course, this has freed up supply for Minato. He's got 26 Corruptors on the way, just tech switching left, right, and center, and just trying to do any damage. And all while Goody doesn't have a forced out, he's going to have a massive amount of problems, because look at this, just so many Speedlings coming down. That is a good response to just really a defense consisting only of Banshee, because the Banshee just won't be able to kill the Zerglings before everything else dies.
A few Zerglings dying in the middle of the map trying to take out the auto turrets. The auto turrets don't have any upgrades though, so they're gonna, not deal as much damage and die pretty quickly. So there they go, they have died off. Oh, a lot of mules here, pretty vulnerable. Goody does not want to lose all those mules right now. He is on very little income and he can use every mule that he's got. The Zerglings, of course, completely expendable by Minato. And where's his anti-air? Does he have anything to deal with the Corruptors?
He has Seeker missiles, and the Corruptors are all stacked up at the moment. They are splitting very nicely there. So most who survive, the Raven's going down, and Minato, well, he's just going to clean up this Air Force so quickly. He's one-shotting through these Ravens. A couple of missile turrets being like, hey, what up? And Minato doesn't really care. He's just streaming Zerglings in. He's doing really nicely, and he's denying Goody from being able to do pretty much anything.
Yeah, and look at the bank of Minato. He's just deciding, what am I gonna make next? I have 3,000 in the bank. I can make anything I want, and I will make nothing but Ultras. That's what I'm gonna do with my money. 11 Ultras. So it took him, you could really see by the production tab, like he was deciding, he was stroking his goatee, and he was like, what shall I construct next? Okay, 11 Ultras.
He was just going through, he was going across his keyboard being like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And just like going through all the keys until he decided on the U and just held it down. And Goody with 110 supply, he just doesn't have enough stuff to defend this. He's getting more Ravens out, but the Banshee count is still relatively good, but 21 Corruptors are there. Like, this is just such a good composition for Minato to deal with everything that Goody has.
It is a perfect composition. Goody, I don't think he's going to be able to last much longer in this game. He's been on 1 base income for a while. 1.5, one might argue. I mean, that base on the right side has been shut down like every 5 or 4 minutes consistently by Minato. Minato's just going to gather up his forces. I'm not sure what his Corruptors are doing. They're just flying around the map, scouting for anything that could possibly make him lose the game. but I think he's found out by now. Yeah, there's nothing there. I can go ahead and apply some pressure again. Attack into the fourth, attack into the third, and once again, Goody will have to spread himself really thin.
He will, and I like the fact that Minato's actually going for pathogen glands as well, because this is going to just allow him to lock down the army, but I don't really think it's going to get that far at the moment, because just look at this force trundling its way across the map. 3-3 ultras, 3-5 ultras, air upgrades are even looking at 2-1, so this is just going to start wrecking through everything. Goody not even trying to save this orbital command, because there's nothing else he can do. As we can see, he's just running in, but the Corruptors are starting to go to town on these Banshees. A couple of Seeker missiles are getting flung out, but as the Banshees die, as everything else falls on the ground, Goody has no choice but to GG out, and Minato played that game just oh so well and takes the first victory.